Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Spoilers for General Hospital: Willie's savage retaliation against Drew endangers her future husband? According to General Hospital spoilers and updates, Willow Tate may seek revenge on Drew Kane, placing her fiancé in grave danger. Willow may experience some serious consequences as soon as he discovers Drew's actual character, and that moment may be much sooner rather than later. Willow has demonstrated that she is more of a follower than an equal partner in her relationship with Drew, which makes sense considering her cult-like upbringing. Willow is starting to make some decisions for herself, even if they are bad ones, after Drew spent a lot of time trying to influence and divert her. Willow has been on a downhill spiral that seems to be headed for catastrophe ever since she lost custody of her kids. Her behavior has been more daring and unpredictable, especially when it was discovered that she has been gaslighting Sasha Gilmore Corbin and stalking Daisy Gilmore. What might Willow do to Drew when their romantic illusion breaks out if she can treat Sasha and Michael Corinthos in this manner? Willow is capable of dark things. Drew is in a vulnerable position since Willow has the capacity to cause havoc. He has been holding several disturbing secrets from Willow, most notably his frequent meetings with Nina Reeves. GH viewers have also seen Drew's duplicity and exploitation of the defenseless Wiley Corinthos. There were numerous other incidences as well. For example, Drew bribed a staff member at the German clinic to prevent Willow from entering, giving the impression that Michael was the one who was denying her entry. Since Willow's character is clearly changing in unforeseen ways, Drew's revelation must have more serious repercussions than just a simple split. Willow could do much more than just confront Drew or dump him. Willow is clinging to Drew as if he's her last hope for sanity, but what will happen when that last link breaks? Willow yelling at Drew and ending their relationship won't cut it. In the end, Willow will realize that she ruined her family and marriage for a cunning jerk who has constantly misled her. This insight will undoubtedly cause a furious outburst and may result in a plot of retaliation that surprises Drew. Is Willow a threat to Drew's security? Would Drew be in danger if Willow finds out the truth about him? According to General Hospital spoilers, Willow's conduct is probably going to get worse before getting better, so we'll keep you updated on any concerning developments for Drew. GH spoilers: Sasha may come to regret relying on Nina. According to General Hospital spoilers, Sasha Gilmore Corbin is determined to figure out the solution to the issue that has been presented to her. She no longer desires to be in Port Charles. In all honesty, she experienced the same emotions during her pregnancy. At first, she had intended to leave town and give birth to her kid without disclosing that Daisy Corinthos Gilmore was Michael Corinthos' child. Since then, Sasha has loved her employment in the Quartermain estate and has become like family, even though that ship has obviously sailed. However, Sasha believes that the wisest course of action following the kidnapping on July 4th is for her and her child to start over somewhere else because any threat to Daisy's safety must be given first priority. She doesn't want to interfere with Amelia and Wiley Corinthos' life, even though Michael is determined to accompany her. Could Nina Reeves help with that? Sasha's appeal to Nina is messy. Sasha's postpartum anxiety, which has been exacerbated by the July 4th scare and the loss of Liam Mike Corbin, drives her to do whatever it takes to keep Daisy safe. Her desire to maintain stability in Amelia and Wiley's life conflicts with Michael's ambition to uproot his children and join her. Sasha may visit Nina, possibly in a private meeting, and urge her to inform Willow about Michael's move intentions because she believes she cannot influence him on her own. Nina may see this as an opportunity to strengthen her relationship with Willow, but there are hazards because of her past interfering. Will Sasha's faith in Nina save Daisy or cause a domino effect? Nina's move might blow up because she lost custody of her children. Nina's decision to tell Willow might make her want to fight Michael's move. However, if Willow, who is already erratic, discovers Nina's secrets or senses Sasha's intentions, Nina's involvement may come to an end. Sasha's relationship with Michael could be strained if Carly Spencer or Jason Morgan learn about it and start to doubt her judgment. Will Nina's actions foil Michael's schemes or cause a conflagration that makes Sasha feel alone and regrets relying on her? A dangerous bet for Daisy's protection. By entrusting Nina with such private information, Sasha is taking a big risk. By revealing her reluctance to move Michael's children, she may unintentionally give the impression that Sasha believes Michael isn't prioritizing Amelia and Wiley's needs, even if it makes sense that he would also put his new child's safety first. Could Willow use this as leverage to return to court and argue that her children should stay with her rather than be evicted from the only home they have ever known and everyone they love? Will Sasha's entreaty to Nina prevent Michael's move and preserve Daisy, or will her faith in Nina turn to regret and destroy her new family? Spoilers, will Liesl take advantage of Rocco's weak heart while he looks for answers regarding Britt? Liesl Albrecht's confirmed return to General Hospital raises questions about her intentions toward Rocco Falconeri, who is looking for information regarding Britt Westbourne, the woman who was essentially the surrogate who bore him in her womb, according to General Hospital spoilers. After Brooklyn Quartermain stuck her nose where it didn't belong, Rocco's latest communication to Liesl sets him on a quest to comprehend Britt's involvement in taking his embryo from Lulu Spencer and Dante Falconeri. Could Liesl, who is renowned for prioritizing her own emotions, surreptitiously go back to develop a relationship with Rocco, viewing him as a connection to her dead daughter, or perhaps reveal Britt's existence if she is aware of her existence? Will Liesl take advantage of Rocco's weak heart or shield him from harm? Rocco's vulnerability and Liesl's return, perhaps motivated by sorrow for Britt, who has been assumed dead since Heather Weber's 2023 hook attack, may cause her to cling to Rocco as a link to her daughter. He is susceptible because of his outreach, which was prompted by his hurt over Lulu's concealment of his birthplace and made worse by Giovanni Gio Palmieri's adoption scandal. Liesl may take advantage of his curiosity to satisfy her own need by relaying Britt's story with him if they cross paths, possibly in a covert conversation off the usual route. Will Liesl endanger Britt's privacy by disclosing that she knows she survived, as Jason Morgan's sighting in July indicates? Spoilers reveal a secret that could break or mend if Liesl thinks Britt is gone. Her manipulation of Rocco's emotions could make him more hurt and drive him away from Lulu and Dante. She might expose Britt to Rocco's confidants, such as Jason and Danny Morgan, if she knows she's still alive, possibly concealed by her own plots. Liesl may struggle with telling the truth in a raw encounter, but her self-interested past raises concerns. Will she put Rocco's delicate heart first, or will she exploit him to deal with her grief, causing mayhem? Supporters prepare for impact. Liesl's actions may cause the Falconeri family to come apart, with Laura Collins or Sonny Corinthos bearing the consequences. Will Liesl use Rocco's weak heart to hold on to Britt's memories, or will she find healing with him? Or will everyone's life be completely turned upside down by Liesl's return and the potential revelation of Britt's survival? The latter is what we're voting for. What are you standing at? Is it a twisted plot that leaves some people reeling and distraught, or are you expecting for a huge joyful family scenario? Spoilers, is Britt back in the picture? Jason's next love interest is unveiled at the airport? According to General Hospital spoilers and updates, Jason Morgan might at least find a committed relationship. During the week of July 14th to 18th, he runs into Dr. Britt Westbourne, his ex-lover, at an airport. Since returning to Port Charles, Jason has remained unmarried despite being the most sought-after bachelor in the area. This has happened more than a year ago. Jason is the whole package. Ladies are drawn to a good-looking, naughty guy with a tinge of morality, even if his career isn't flawless. Unfortunately, things didn't work out with Sam McCall after Jason returned, since she was infatuated with Dante Falconeri. Although some fans hoped for a reunion, Sam's untimely death in late October 2024 crushed any prospects of a reunion between the famed super pair, Jasam and Sam. Since then, nothing the authors have attempted for Jason in terms of romance has succeeded. Numerous chemistry tests and love possibilities have occurred. The show attempted to establish a romantic plot between Jason and Anna Devane, but many GH fans felt uneasy following their kiss. His previous relationship with Robin Scorpio Drake, Anna's daughter, was just too important to ignore or to allow her mother to take her ex. Though that theory was also rejected, there were hints that Sasha Corbin might have had emotions for Jason. Jason and Sam had a truly special relationship, but he also had a lot of chemistry with Britt. One could argue that Britt and Jason's sparks were equally as strong as those he felt with Sam. Fans wanted Britt with Jason. In fact, many GH fans had hoped that Britt was still in Port Charles when Jason arrived. She tragically died in early 2023 as a result of an attack on the Good Doctor by the Hook, also known as Heather Weber. It was a shame that Britt and Jason were never given the chance to explore their story further because they had so much more to tell. However, GH viewers get what they want, as the soap opera brought Jake Weber back to life following his terrible childhood accident. Given that Jocelyn Jacks received a kidney transplant, it should be easy to bring Britt back, right? Jason Throne and Kelly return the week of July 14th. According to the teaser, Jason is at the airport when he spots someone he knows. Kelly Thibault is scheduled to return to the canvas the week of July 14th. Jason's expression says it all. He seems both perplexed and moved as he watches Britt, or someone who looks a lot like her, pass by. Whether Britt has amnesia or has purposefully withdrawn herself from Port Charles for other reasons, GH fans can't get rid of the impression that she is making a reappearance. Britt's role in Rocco Falconeri's birth has been revisited by Brooke Lynn Quartermaine Chase. All indications point to Thibault playing Britt Westbourne again, especially since it was revealed that Dr. Liesl Albrecht would also be returning to the series. Harrison Chase stood on the front porch of Quartermaine, staring at the road beyond the iron gates, the pleasant smell of evening rain still clinging to the air outside. He wasn't prepared to go inside just yet, but it had been a hard day. After his talk with Tracy Quartermaine earlier that afternoon, he had too much on his mind. She had cornered him in the corridor, which surprised him. Furthermore, he hadn't anticipated her frankness regarding Brooke Lynn. Regarding his marriage. Roughly everything that might go wrong if they didn't exercise caution. Tracy had warned him that she was sliding, her voice piercing with worry but tempered by love from family. Isn't it visible to you? However, Chase, who was always upbeat about his wife, had managed to smile despite it. He had responded, she's trying her hardest. I also adore her. That will not change. Then he had spoken the words, those 6 words that still reverberated in his mind like an unspoken curse. In Port Charles, saying something like, there's nothing she could do, never worked out well. The home felt unnaturally quiet now, as he entered at last. A rare instance of quiet in a home that was normally a hive of Quartermaine noise and drama. Although she didn't play, he discovered Brooke Lynn sitting at the antique baby grand piano in the music room, her fingertips lightly tapping the keys. As he walked in, she looked up, her face unreadable. Hey, she murmured. He took a step closer her and lowered himself to eye level. Are you all right? Brooke Lynn smiled slightly at him. Chase shook his head, saying, I should be asking you that. I spoke with Tracy. Oh, she mumbled, reclining. We're going to go now. She's concerned about you. Regarding what this whole situation with Lulu is doing to you. Brooke Lynn's jaw tensed, and she looked absently. You can't fight her forever, he said tactfully. You're crying inside because of it. And now, with Gio, her whole body changed at his name. She blurted out, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I never intended to cause Rocco any harm. Her voice cracked. Brooke. I wanted Lulu to understand what it's like to lose something. Chase grabbed her hand. She glanced at him and said, that's not who you are anymore. Isn't it? He drew her in and put his arms around her, saying, because I'm not so sure lately. My wife is you. Even after saying, I know your heart, he felt something in her tense under his fingers. Brooke Lynn left the mansion by herself that evening. She claimed that she needed time to ponder, air, and space. She was not stopped by Chase. However, he ought to have. Standing in the doorway of his apartment across town, Dante Falconeri gazed into the living room's shadows while clutching a drink of scotch. Both he and the night had become quiet. Since the nurse's ball, his entire world had changed. Since Brooke Lynn's secrets had come to light and altered the path of several lives, and since Gio had excluded him. Before he could see her face, he heard the knock. Lynn Brooke. Her voice was hoarse, and her eyes were rimmed in red. I had no idea where else to go. Dante remained silent. He moved to make room for her. Before she spoke again, they sat silently for a few minutes. I feel like everything is gone from me. Gio. My honor. You haven't lost, Chase, Dante replied cautiously, referring to my position within this family. Not just yet, she muttered. But I'm afraid I will. Dante reached out and grasped her palm in the dim light of the hallway lighting. With gentleness, he said, Brooke. You're not alone. She suddenly broke down. Not into his embrace. Not interested in sharing a kiss. but into a more profound moment of vulnerability than either of them had anticipated. Dante drew her into a gentle embrace that was familiar rather than romantic, two people who had known one another for too long and witnessed each other's darkest moments. Something flickered, though. Something that isn't said. Furthermore, in Port Charles, unspoken things had a tendency of quickly becoming scandalous. Chase woke up by himself the following morning. Brooklyn had failed to return home. Though his heart ached, he reminded himself not to freak out. Perhaps she had visited Lois. Perhaps she had walked in the park during the night. He called her. No response. Her face revealed little by the time she entered at midday. However, Chase noticed it, the weary eyes, the disheveled hair, and the way she averted his eyes. Where did you go? She stated. I needed space. He nodded, yet a change occurred within him. With caution, he said, Brooke. She paused before saying, we said no more secrets. I was with Dante. He wasn't particularly upset by the words. It was the hesitancy. The voice. He had further questions. He didn't. Rather, he merely said, all right. Over the next few days, the gap grew. Brooklyn put herself into her community service and singing career. At the PCPD, Chase immersed himself in cases. They shared fewer kisses. Spoke less. Most of the time, they slept apart. Tracy watched the entire time. And Lois. One day in the garden, Tracy reminded him, you said you'd love her through anything. It's time to prove it now. Chase, however, had changed his mind. Not because of infidelity, as far as he was aware, none had occurred. However, for a more sinister reason. Distance. Mistrust. A gradual unwinding. Then the picture appeared. It was anonymously sent to Chase's phone. A blurry picture from a window. Dante and Brooklyn. Close. Too near. She touched his chest. He touched her shoulder. It was the same timestamp as the night she hadn't returned home. At first, he remained silent. Not to her. Not to anybody. He went to the dock instead. He reflected on what he had spoken to Tracy that day while sitting by the sea. About nothing making him leave. How certain he had been. He was unsure about nothing now. Brooklyn, meanwhile, was standing at the queue home, gazing at an old picture of Gio as a young child. It was among the few she possessed. Years ago, she had pleaded with the agency for one. When she still thought she had made the correct decision. She was losing control of her marriage. Her son detested her. Her family was split up. Dante, too, had been nice. Encouraging. A companion. Not much more. However, the gossip had already started to circulate. Chase didn't yell when he eventually went up to her. He made no accusations. Tell me the truth. Brooklyn glanced at the picture and then at him. He merely handed it to her. It's not what it looks like. Perhaps not, he said. But it's enough. They both fell silent. At last, she inquired, are you abandoning me? He gave a headshake. No. However, we must find our way back. Or we will lose everything. And they united in their suffering for the first time in weeks. Not cured. But perhaps, just possibly, willing to give it a shot. The amazing GH fan theory that would dismantle Port Charles. Supporters want their favorite things to return. Is it feasible? Viewers are upset that General Hospital let rid of some beloved characters, most notably Sam and Dex. What if they were indeed still there? We are all aware that this plot point has been repeated endlessly. Resurrecting the dead is a favorite of soap operas. It works even though it's unrealistic. When Sam and Dex were murdered off, one after the other, fans were in a frenzy. They have been demanding that both go back to Port Charles because they are still furious. What if they're still alive? Cyrus could only have drugged them and then pretended to kill them. It wouldn't be surprising if a criminal like him pretended to be dead and held them captive. Seeing Sam and Dex return home to their loved ones would be amazing. For what purpose? Cyrus was insane, but he was also extremely intelligent. What if he was collaborating with the WSB and Brennan? If Jocelyn's partner had been still alive, Brennan would have been able to get her to join the group. The murder of Dex was what he needed to give her to fight for. The WSB would have allowed Joss to kill Cyrus and considered him collateral damage. But why stage Sam's death? Similar to what the FBI did to Jason, Brennan might be keeping her and Dex and threatening their loved ones in order to get them to assist the WSB. The WSB would be interested in Sam and Dex because of their backgrounds as private investigators and military personnel, and they have a history of doing more than breaking the law. All of this might be related to Sidwell and his relationship with Professor Dalton. Who knows? On GH, stranger things have occurred. Do you want to see Dex and Sam again? Tell us in the space provided for comments. Week of July 21st General Hospital spoilers, Jason takes on the mystery, Drew takes his next vengeful step, and Rocco meets Albrecht. According to General Hospital spoilers for the week of July 21st to 25th, Jason Morgan will be solving a mystery while Rocco Falconeri will meet with Liesl Albrecht. Here's what GH fans should anticipate as Drew Kane takes his next vindictive action. Initially, Drew will proceed with a perverse scheme to harm Michael Corinthos. Michael might appear to be an unsuitable dad and eventually lose custody of the children to Willow Tate if all goes as Drew anticipates. After apparently catching a sight of Britt Westbourne at the airport, Jason will have a riddle to solve. Will Jason explain what he witnessed and solve the mystery to someone like Carly Spencer? Given that Britt is purportedly dead, Jason might admit that it might be a case of mistaken identity. Jason, however, is aware that it is possible to return from the dead in Port Charles. Given that Jason has done it multiple times, he might also entertain the possibility that Britt may have cheated death. In any case, Jason will continue to be involved in Jen Sidwell's and Sonny Corinthos' problems. Will Sidwell be successful in obtaining Marco Rio's freedom and meeting Sonny's demands? Sidwell may eventually strike back at Sonny and start a new round of this never-ending war, regardless of what he does next. In addition, a courier who is expected to report back to the boss will meet with Professor Henry Hank Dalton. Dalton will need to explain all of his stalling strategies and his lackluster development. Is Britt the courier in this case? If this is the case, Jocelyn Jacks may be surprised if she follows the lead and spies Britt next. Her appearance on the show will undoubtedly cause a stir, regardless of whether she is Britt or a doppelganger. Speaking of shaking things up, Rocco will undoubtedly do that by having an insightful discussion with Albrecht. Rocco will get all decked out for Liesl, who will be thrilled to share Britt and any other information he desires regarding his origins. Albrecht will be adamant about making his own decisions, but you can guarantee that Dante Falconeri and Lulu Spencer will be quite upset about his involvement in Rocco's life. Portia Robinson will also display some resolve, but will it be to destroy Drew, mend her marriage, or both? In any event, it appears that Portia is moving away from Curtis Ashford and toward Isaiah Gannon. Will Portia and Isaiah eventually fall asleep? Stay in for updates on all the growing drama as General Hospital spoilers indicate that the week of July 21st to 25th will be filled with shocking news and erupting tension. Like the thick calm before a thunderstorm, the quiet inside the Metro Court penthouse was misleading. As if the skyline itself owed him answers, Jason Morgan stood at the window with his arms folded across his chest, gazing out over Port Charles. However, there were no answers in the city's lights, and the static hum of far-off traffic held no reality. Just a quiet, deadly type of rage that simmered behind his placid veneer. When the world fell apart, people had always looked to Jason. The one who fixes things. The shield. The man who knew how to use a glance, a gesture, or a bullet when necessary to put an end to the mayhem. Now, however, his own household had become the home of turmoil. And what caused it? Quartermaine, Drew. The man whose face he shared. His blood. And now his enemy, perhaps. Piece by piece, Jason had been pulled from under by what he had learned over the past week. Despite his instincts telling him for weeks that something was wrong, he hadn't wanted to believe it at first. Before a nurse from the Berlin facility contacted Jason, he had no idea what Drew was hiding, but he had been acting like a man with something to conceal. She didn't intend to reveal anything. Not on purpose. In passing, however, she had stated that Drew had been quite explicit about what Willow was supposed to hear upon her arrival in Germany, namely that Michael had declined to see her and that she ought to simply return home. The nurse believed that she was being helpful and faithful to Drew by considering Jason to be a confidant. However, she had no idea to whom she was speaking. Jason knew exactly what Drew had done when she said those words. He had compensated her. Manipulated her. Told Willow a lie. And that was only the start. Jason confirmed the worst 2 days later. In addition to thwarting Willow's efforts to make amends with Michael, Drew had done so while having a covert affair with Nina Reeves, of all persons. The same Nina who had previously torn Willow's life to pieces. The same Nina who, in some way, was still holding on to the brittle mother-daughter relationship they were trying to mend. Jason's jaw tightened. There were boundaries to his devotion to Carly Spencer and Michael Corinthos, but this was too great for him to ignore. Drew was harming more than just the people he loved. He was using love as a weapon, warping it, and disguising it as righteousness. That was unacceptable. Just after midnight, he discovered Drew on the docks. As Jason proceeded onward, the moonlight rippled in the blackness, and the river flowed slowly. Drew didn't recoil. Perhaps he had anticipated this clash. Alternatively, he might have believed he could talk his way out of it. Jason put his hands in his jacket pockets and replied bluntly, "You've been busy." Drew arched an eyebrow, but his tone didn't waver. "Jason, it's late. If you have something to say, I am aware of Germany." The words rang out like bullets. Drew stopped. "What are you saying?" "I am aware that you instructed the nurse to tell Willow a falsehood. Michael wouldn't see her, she was informed." Drew's silence served as assurance that he had no desire to interact with her. Jason moved in closer. "And I am aware that you pushed her in your direction. While sharing a bed with Nina. The same lady who almost ruined her." Drew whispered, "She needed a clean break," but even he didn't think it was true. Jason had a look that could pierce steel. "You played tricks on her. You destroyed her opportunity to make amends with Michael. And you're still trying to control her." Drew retorted, his fists clenched, "I love her. I was attempting to shield her from Michael's falsehoods. He would never be able to get her back." "No," Jason answered icily. "You wished he wouldn't. Because you wanted her for yourself." The tension in their silence increased. Drew let out a slow exhale. "So what? Will you tell her all about it? Blow it all up?" Jason took a while to respond. His voice was low when he did. "Managed. Deadly. You go. You leave Willow behind. From this community. From all sources. You don't speak with her. You don't become involved." Drew went pale. "If I hear you've approached her again, I'll make sure she knows everything, and not just about Germany. When she learns about you and Nina, do you think she'll stay?" Jason went on. "That when you crawled into bed with the woman she despises the most, you were lying to her?" "She wouldn't believe you," Drew uttered, but it sounded vacuous. Jason took over, head to head. "Try me." Willow Corinthos sat in the GH courtyard the following morning, attempting to divert her attention with a book she hadn't read in days. She kept seeing the same picture in her head, entering that facility in Berlin and learning that Michael hadn't even bothered to visit her. That he had actually informed them that he didn't want her present. Something in her had been broken by it. However, something had never quite fit together. After leaving Germany in pieces, she was wrapped up in Drew's consoling embrace. He had been there, consistent and attentive, everything Michael wasn't. She had initially welcomed that presence. However, she had been feeling suffocated lately. It seemed as though someone else's colors were being used to paint her existence. Across her book, a shadow dropped. She raised her head. "Jason." Without waiting for an invitation, he sat down. He said, "I need to talk to you." Willow's heartbeat accelerated as she examined his face. Jason avoided chit-chat. His words, whatever they were, would matter. He started, "I need you to watch out for Drew." Her face wavered. "What are you saying?" Jason carefully considered his remarks as he leaned forward. "He hasn't told you certain stuff. Regarding Germany. With reference to Michael." Willow swallowed. "Do you mean when I visited him?" Jason gave a nod. "Drew bought a lie from someone at the clinic. You were never turned down by Michael. The world ceased to revolve, and he was unaware of your presence." Her mouth parted, but no sound came out as she gazed at Jason. "What did he do?" Jason looked her in the eyes. "And there's more." Drew paced the study at the Quartermain house, gasping for air. He had been given 48 hours by Jason. It will take 48 hours to depart from Port Charles. To leave Willow. However, what would that achieve? How would that resolve the issue? He still had feelings for her. Even though he wasn't worthy of her. Jason discovered Nina in the Crimson office later that day. When she saw him, she didn't seem startled. "You will inform her," she murmured softly. "Aren't you?" Jason remarked, "I might not have to." Nina groaned, her eyes glimmering, "Unless Drew tells her first." "I never intended to cause Willow any more harm." Jason cocked his head. "Then don't. Encourage him to go. Before she learns about it from someone else, persuade him to stop it." "And if I don't?" The solution was Jason's quiet. The next night, Willow spotted Drew on the porch with his bag when she unlocked her front door. "Where are you heading?" she inquired. He answered, "I have to go for a bit. The damage is enormous." She didn't ask any questions, so it's time I quit acting like what we had was sincere. Perhaps she didn't have to. Perhaps she had known all along in some way. Jason was riding his bike when he saw Drew vanish down the street. He didn't feel victorious. Actually, he felt nothing. Only the weird, empty pain of rescuing a loved one from someone they believed to be their lover. Sometimes taking on the role of protector meant turning into the antagonist in the perspective of others. However, Jason Morgan would always be prepared to pay the price for Willow, Carly, and Michael. Brian Craig, a former cast member of General Hospital, asks fans if they want Morgan back, and the response might have shocked him as well. Brian Craig, a former cast member of General Hospital, has been mentioning his doomed character frequently lately. To the extent that you would assume a comeback must be imminent. However, it doesn't sound that way, at least not yet. The Daytime Emmy winner posted a survey on social media on July 13 asking followers to vote on whether they wanted Morgan Corinthos to return to competition. "In the end, General Hospital is your show," he remarked. "I love you no matter what you decide." What were the poll's findings? Nearly 95% of respondents said they did wish Sonny and Carly's son to come back to life when we last looked. That's not too bad. You wouldn't expect Craig's admirers to not hope for his return, would you? However you interpret it, the actor seems to be hoping that Morgan will experience the same miracle that is bringing Britt back to life this week. In 2013, Craig played the first adult Morgan. He remained on the show until 2016, then returned twice to allow Morgan to have spectral visitation. He appeared in the latter 2 seasons of Good Trouble's 5 seasons, was a regular on ABC's Grand Hotel for its final season, and made a cameo on the short-lived CBS drama Valor during his post-soap career. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.